Everyone likes to argue about what the best air-cooled 911 is. 964 owners think it's theirs because it's got power steering. 993 owners think it's theirs because they've spent six figures. But I think a lot of them are missing the point. The best air-cooled 911 actually isn't a single model, in my opinion anyway. I think it's actually an entire generation. I think the G-body was the pinnacle of Porsche air-cooled 911s. 15 years of refinement. Behind me is my 1985 3.2 Carrera that I've had for about 2 years, and this is a 1977 911S with the 2.7, and this thing has been completely rebuilt with an engine out. Today, I'm going to drive this 77S to help explain why I think the G-body generation is the definitive way to own an air-cooled 911. My name is Scott, and you're watching the Carrera Cafe. Behind the wheel of the 1977 911S. Now, I drove a ton of G-bodies when I was searching for my 911 that I have today, my 85 3.2 Carrera. But I didn't actually ever drive a 911S. This is my first time driving one of these, and I gotta say, I'm really surprised at how spry the engine is. You can notice the half of a liter displacement less allows the RPMs to rev much quicker. Sure, it's got less overall power, but this thing is really spirited on the low end when compared to my 3.2. And I really enjoy revving it out in those low RPM bands. Even just in neutral or pushing the clutch in and kind of blipping the throttle, I notice how much quicker this thing revs, which is pretty neat. While we're on the way out to the twisties, I'll talk a little bit about this 77S. This one has been freshly repainted in paint to sample Minerva metallic blue. Man, does it look sweet. This thing gets a ton of attention in this color. And of course, it is a Targa. This one in particular has 200,000 miles on the chassis, which is just an absolute testament to build quality in Porsche engineering. But this engine's actually had an entire engine-out rebuild of its 2.7. I don't recall exactly how many miles ago that rebuild happened, but if you're interested in this 77S, I'll have a description. I'll have a link in the description below, and I believe the selling dealer's got documentation for the engine-out and all that fun stuff. This thing's on loaner to us from RP Exotics. They're a dealer just outside St. Louis, Missouri. They got a ton of Porsches, luxury vehicles, sports cars, and SUVs, and some other air-cooled 911s as well. And you can just tell, I mean, I've seen a lot of air-cooled 911s, and when you pop the bonnet in back, or you pop the deck lid in back and take a look, you can always tell which ones have had engine-out rebuilds because all the components just look new. There's not oil caked up a bunch of places. You can tell this one's been taken care of. I'm not always a huge proponent of aftermarket stuff on these things. I've got an original Porsche wheel in my 85, but man, this Momo, I think it's Prototipo is how you say it, that I see in a lot of air-cooled 911s, this thing gets my rubber stamp of approval for aftermarket upgrades. I love the size of this wheel. It doesn't look out of place in here. This is a good move. This thing does have a 915 gearbox like mine. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I'm actually kind of biased towards the 915 over the G50, which is a little bit against the grain, I guess you could say. I think a lot of people think the G50 is the de facto gearbox for the air-cooled. It's the better way to own. But, you know, when I get in my 911, my goal is to be as connected as possible. I don't want to think about anything else. And the 915 requires a little bit of finesse. You know, it's rewarding when I can hit that second to third gear shift like that. You know, it requires a little more work, and I can appreciate that. The G50 is no doubt easier to drive, but I'm a huge fan of the 915, and this thing's got a nice, clean, shifting 915 in it. Let's talk about the G-body, because, you know, when I was a kid, the G-body was the definition of a classic Porsche 911, in my opinion. When you think old 911, you think G-body. You don't think 964 or 993. You know, Porsche started to soften the edges on those vehicles, and sure, they refined them. They were more powerful, they were easier to drive, better daily drivers. But in the current market where all these classic 911s have an inflated value, the G-body is the most budget-friendly entry now. Long time ago, the G-body was like the middle awkward, you know, stepchild, and they were really, really affordable to get a hold of. Now they've appreciated like all 911s, but they're still at the bottom end when compared to some of those newer generation air-cooled 911s. Get them while you can. You know, I've said it in other videos, my 3.2 stopped this infinite loop of car buying that I have. I kept always looking for the next best thing. This air-cooled 911, my 3.2 that I have, is actually the longest I've ever owned a vehicle. And I know that sounds like first world problems, but it finally got me to stop because there's just nothing else like it. And financially, I'll never lose a dime on the thing. Even when I spend money on it, you know, it's actually an investment. The people that buy these things secondhand appreciate the dollars that you put back into them. So this thing, I think, makes around 175 horsepower when it was new. So that is a little bit less than my 3.2. I think my 3.2 is somewhere in the low 2s. Again, when you're talking 40-year-old 911s, horsepower isn't even what you talk about, because who knows what they're even rated for nowadays after the wear and tear. But it doesn't matter. The butt dyno on these things makes it seem like it's a heck of a lot faster than that. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this gearbox compared to mine. Every 911 in the air-cooled drives different. Man, that 2.7 sounds cool. It's got more of a rasp than my 3.2 has. I'm not sure what type of exhaust setup this one has. I've got the dang sport muffler on mine, and then some type of higher flow cat. I don't know what this vehicle has, but when you get into that like 3,000 plus RPM area, you get this really nice, I hate to use the word rasp because that can be viewed as bad, but it's got this really unique sound that I like. It kind of gives me like Honda VTEC vibes when you hit that RPM band, but obviously not VTEC. Of course, on the inside, we've got the straight up and down 5-pod gauge cluster that we expect in all these old 911s. You only can see the three things that you give a shit about: the RPMs, the oil pressure or truck press, and your fuel. Everything else you got to kind of look at an angle to see. It does look like this one, the oil reservoir needle is bouncing around a bit. It's pretty common, so if you don't know, this gauge here doesn't actually do oil level for the engine. It's reading the oil level for the reservoir. So there's a reservoir of oil. Oil leaves that reservoir and circulates throughout the vehicle to cool. So this thing is really only good when the engine's warm, you're sitting flat at idle, and the oil has returned to the reservoir. What we care about is the truck press or oil pressure. This, not so much. I see a lot of these pegged out or not working. I think it kind of just floats around in that reservoir. So I also noticed this has got the Blaupunkt stereo, which is something I wanted to do in mine. I just couldn't justify the money, so it's cool that somebody already spent the money on this. This is like a $600 head unit compared to like my $120 Continental that I have in mine. But it adds, you know, Bluetooth and USB and auxiliary and some amenities to this classic 911 without diminishing the aesthetics, you know. right, let's have some fun. You know what? The Targa's sweet because I love hearing that sound behind me. Ooh, I almost got a good rev match. It's just so much fun driving these old 911s. You know, so many classic cars, you would never feel comfortable beating on them like you do in an old air-cooled 911 like these G-bodies. It's just, they don't seem like 40, 50-year-old vehicles. It'll open up a little bit more later here in the drive. This is the real narrow part of these twisties. I gotta be careful. There isn't even a double line in the middle. I tell you what, second to third in this guy is easier than my 3.2. I definitely have some type of short throw shift kit on my 3.2 from a prior owner, but I think it was, you know, it's probably been in there for 15 years, maybe more. So it's probably time to reevaluate that. This thing definitely has its original shifting action, which is a little bit softer, less notchy than mine, but man, it's easy to find the gears in this thing. Man, that sound. And of course, if you've driven any old 911, the pedal box takes some getting used to. Pedals come out of the floor, it's kind of off to the right. When I picked this thing up yesterday, I was wearing my work clothes for the office, and I had some larger kind of like Cole Haan dress shoes on. Man, it took me a little bit of getting used to figure out where to put my foot to be able to hit the clutch and not get in the way of the, there's not a dead pedal, but there is like a spot to the left of the clutch. Roads are a little wet this morning, so I am going to be a little careful in some of these twisties just because this thing obviously isn't ours. And if you know anything about old 911s, they got the nickname later on in the 930 as the Widowmaker because all that weight behind you when that turbo kicked in with no traction control, easy to lose the back end. 175 horses in this, definitely more challenging to do. But wet roads, weight behind us, we're still gonna be careful. All right, let's have some fun. Oh, I just killed it. No way. Well guys, that's a first here on the Carrera Cafe. I don't think I've ever done this on video, so go ahead and roast me in the comments. The clutch engages is a different spot than mine, okay? Give me some slack. You know what's funny is, it's so interesting seeing this antenna come out of the hood. In the 3.2, they integrated the antenna into the windshield, but this has an electronic antenna that comes out of the passenger fender up there. And it's funny seeing that thing come out, it's so tall. All right, back to normally scheduled events. It's so flat and planted. Does it have the horsepower of a 993? No. Is it as refined as a 964? No. But man, is it still exciting to drive and proof that you don't need to go felony fast to have fun. Just ripping from second to third on these twisties is a heck of a lot of fun. And I know I don't know how to heel toe in these old cars, guys. but I'm not trying to set Nuremberg lap times, okay? Man, this thing drives so good. It's crazy how well these things can hold up if taken care of. Like I said, other 50-year-old classic cars, you would never be comfortable ripping on roads like this unless they've had like a body-on frame or body-off frame restoration or like a resto mod. I mean, these things must have been so ahead of their time back in the 70s. Oh yeah, I got a rev match there. That's sweet, sweet flat 6, baby. Well guys, my name is Scott. You've been watching the Carrera Cafe. I appreciate you guys coming along for the journey. This is a one-man show. I do this for fun on the weekends. I've got an 85 911, I've got an 83 380 SL, 958.2 Cayenne Turbo, and a Lexus GX460. I make videos about all of them, as well as kind of just where I am in the car market in general. And then I get to spend some time in lovely vehicles like this, thanks to a dealer here in town. If you're interested in this specific 77S, I'll put a link in the description because this guy is for sale at RP Exotics. Based in St. Louis, but they ship these things all over the country. So thanks for coming along, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.